In today's Leeds news, Leeds consider legal action, Shay Charles admired, Leeds expand technical partnership, and rumour mill stories on Sanusi, Ramsdale and Sinayoko. Wednesday, the 17th of June with your Leeds United news. I hope you're all having a really good day. Back in the green box today. A little trip away with the wife to the night. Just a night away. But back to normal as we were last night for the podcast. You can check that out if you like. Myself, Paul and Jerry having a bit of a chat about some of the implementation of the World Cup rules and what that could look like in the Premier League should they decide to bring it in. Nobody's confident at all of that. And also we had a bit of a chat about the Shay Charles situation and the Leeds situation that came out yesterday as well. A bit more detail on that. We've got more detail again today on that. There are two stories to get out of the way real quickly before we get into the main news. Leeds players are due back for pre-season on the 13th of July. As we know, the fixtures for next season will come out this Friday, the 19th of July, before they then get messed around with for a little bit. And also on Carl Darlow's situation, Spurs appear to potentially have moved on from Carl Darlow and are now said to be having a very serious look at Aston Villa's Emi Martinez, who could be leaving Villa this summer. After he said his goodbyes to Aston Villa last summer. He could actually be going this summer. So that's what's going on with those two. We'll see what happens. We've got a bit of stuff to get stuck into today, and we'll start off with a potential legal case for Leeds against Leicester City. So before we get into this in any detail, it should be worth pointing out, this is not the legal case against Everton. Leeds settled that legal case, but it does connect to Burnley's legal case against Everton. But just so everyone's clear, this is a different legal case, but on similar grounds. To be completely honest with you, the thoughts of Leeds United going into court with anybody gives me cold sweats and brings me back to the John Kevin Augustin situation at Leeds, which didn't work out particularly well. But yesterday in the Times, Martin Ziegler had a piece out that claimed that Leeds United are considering legal action against Leicester City in the wake of Burnley's landmark compensation win against Everton. The detail on this is interesting because although it's Everton and Burnley and it's Leeds and Leicester, there is connections between the two, but there are also a couple of fundamental differences. The detail on this is Everton has been ordered by a court to pay Burnley around £35 million in compensation after losing a landmark legal battle from the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules breach that Everton had a few years back. Everton finished 4 points above the 18th place that season in 21-22. Burnley argued that if a 6-point penalty had been applied that season, Everton would have gone down and Burnley wouldn't have. Court agreed with them. They won the case on that one. So Everton have been ordered to pay £26 million alongside £9.1 million of compensation. More compensation is expected to be added to this. So you're looking at around £40 million in total. Now, Everton's reaction to this has been fairly angry about the situation. They've launched an appeal against it. And more importantly, they've put out a statement that says that this verdict could reshape how football clubs challenge financial regulation cases in England. If ever there was a manipulation comment, it's that. Focusing on the effect of it and not the cause of the situation here. The simple response should be, don't break the rules and you won't find yourself in this situation in the first place. Don't talk about the reaction to it and then try and blame somebody for what you've done. Crazy situation. But Leeds' situation with Leicester is slightly different. Leeds are looking at their situation, but they are trying to look at it through the same lens as Burnley have. Leeds' case is over the 23-24 championship season, where Leicester won the title, went up, and Leeds, after getting 90 points, missed out on promotion via the playoffs. Leicester were then found guilty subsequently of breaching the financial fair play rules, although their 6-point deduction wasn't implemented until last season when they came back into the championship. Now, Leeds' argument on this is relatively simple. They're basically saying that if Leicester had been punished during that season, then the league table might have looked differently and Leeds might have gone up automatically. And the key word there is might have gone up, and that maybe Leeds could have got to the Premier League automatically that year, and therefore Leeds have some finances. This is not as clear as the Burnley case, because with the Burnley case, it was a 6-point penalty. There was less points in the difference between the two, and it would have changed the league table. Leeds' situation is a maybe situation. So Leeds have not filed anything legally at this moment in time. There's no court dates, but they are said to just be considering the legal action at this time. The key hurdle for Leeds in this is proving above the balance of probability that Leicester's financial brief affected Leeds United's promotion to the Premier League. The 7-point gap between the two of them makes the argument a tougher one to argue, because they could just look at it black and white and say, yeah, a 6-point deduction should have been applied that season. You still would have ended up in the playoffs. That's the problem here. But the bottom line, I suppose, on this is Burnley have managed to prove that you can sue a football club for breaching or cheating financially. It should be just said black and white, for cheating financially and getting a win as well. So it's an interesting one. We'll keep an eye on it, but it's not the same situation completely. The points difference does make a difference in it. So we'll see. Let's move on. So over the past few days, noise around Southampton's central defensive midfielder Shay Charles has increased massively, with some reports that a deal could even be getting very close to being done. The stories over the last 24 hours claim that Leeds United are among the admirers of Southampton's midfielder Shay Charles, and it originated from the Daily Mail journalist Simon Jones. And the Daily Mail's track record on Leeds United stories is fantastic and very, very credible since the 49ers took control of Leeds United. Then yesterday, Yorkshire Evening Post chief sports writer Graham Smith weighed in on this, but he confirmed that Charles is a player that Leeds United admire. However, Smith did also point out that the interest in Charles hasn't advanced beyond admiration at this point, and that Leeds have got more pressing needs in other positions than in central midfield, which he's not wrong. Leeds have got an abundance of central defensive midfielders. We've got Ethan Ampadu, Ilya Groove, El Tanaka can play in there comfortably, and Anton Stach was bought as a central defensive midfielder originally. So Leeds have got plenty of players in that position. Sean Longstaff can also do a job in there as well. So there is that part of it. Now, other reports claim that Leeds United see Shay Charles as a better fit than Hidemasa Morita, who they were linked with. Those reports are coming from all of the publications that said Leeds were going for Hidemasa Morita. We know the YP shot that one down, and now they're trying to connect a couple of dots together to see that Leeds have actually pivoted away, which doesn't appear to necessarily be the case. There is another side to this, and there always is, especially during transfer window. There's the ITK, or the in the know section on this, and I don't mean the lads on Twitter. I mean the guys that actually have some credibility on Wacko, and just the ones there that have got a very strong track record. Some of those who got some information correct last summer are saying that a deal could be close to being done already. So you've got two relatively reliable sources on this. Graham Smith confirming that there is at least admiration for Charles. You've got the Wacko side, where the more credible ITKs over there are saying, yeah, this looks like it could be done and dusted. So at least we know there's some smoke here. We'll see if there's any fire later on. But for Charles himself, it's an interesting one. He's been linked with Leeds United continuously over the last 3 years, which at least says maybe Leeds United have been keeping a bit of a close eye on him. This goes all the way back to when he was the under-21 captain at Manchester City as well. He's 22 years of age. He's got 35 caps for Northern Ireland. A fee for the player will be in and around £20 million. The age demographic here works quite well. Leeds are said to want to reduce their age demo. 6'2" in height, so he ticks that box as well. But unless someone is leaving, and maybe somebody is leaving, but unless someone's leaving, it doesn't seem like Leeds would be very keen to bring in another midfielder. You go back to the Athletics piece, and they said that Leeds were happy with their midfield options right then. Then there's another side to this as well. It's like a 50 pence piece at this stage. But there is another piece to this, and that's the market opportunity situation. If Shay Charles is a player that Leeds United have been keeping an eye on over the last couple of summers, and maybe he's a player they thought, we'll keep an eye on him, we might purchase him, try and purchase him further down the line. If other clubs have started to get involved in this, that might change the situation. Manchester United have been linked with a move for Shay Charles. He is Manchester born, although he came through the Manchester City Academy, and that might mean Leeds make a move. Now, he would be a player that you would imagine would have sell-on value in the future as well. So maybe it's a market opportunity. 20 million quid for a position you've got plenty of players in. He's a good player, Shay Charles. I wouldn't be against bringing him in, but you would imagine Leeds do have other priorities in the attacking third that they would want to get sorted as a priority. Maybe they can't get them as a priority. Maybe they're going to take longer to do over the summer, so you get these ones done in the meantime. Maybe. Right, let's move on for now. So Leeds United have expanded their existing partnership with performance intelligence company Kitman Labs, and they'll be rolling out their platform across the Leeds United first team for the very first time. Now, this system is already in place at Leeds United's academy. It's part of the Premier League's Elite Player Performance Plan, and for the first time, it will now connect both of the infrastructures up together. What does it cover, and why is this important? Well, it covers performance medicine, it covers training data, coaching information, and development tools as well, and as well as the daily operations. It's a dashboard for those who've worked in big companies would like a dashboard. It's a dashboard. I like a dashboard. So it's an interesting one. Essentially, what this will do is it gives Daniel Farke and his staff one system where they can manage pretty much everything from scheduling to medical data to player performance and development. And more importantly, it connects the academy and the first team up together on the same tool for the very first time. This is not a massive story. This is probably a pretty unglamorous story, but genuinely, I think it's interesting because it does show the broader investment in the footballing infrastructure of Leeds United. And we've seen the medical stuff in the past be very strong for Leeds. This is now a data piece, which I think is very important. And yeah, unglamorous, but serious clubs do this stuff pretty well in the background quietly. So there you go. Let's get into the rumour mill territory. And as always, take this with a pinch of salt. I'm going to clarify this again for the couple of people who seem to miss the point on this. These stories are coming from the back pages, from other sources. I'll tell you what I think about it. You make up your own mind whether you believe them or not. Let's jump into the rumour mill. Right, so the first one is Zaidou Sanusi, and a little bit on this. This player's been linked today. Comes via Afric Foot, who linked him with a move to Leeds United last year as well. He is a left back, plays for FC Porto. Their track record is not good, so there's not a huge amount of credibility in this. Leeds need a left back. He's in the final year of his contract. Looks like his agent's doing a bit of moving around to try and get him a move. He was linked with Leeds last summer by the exact same outlet, but that summer, the player came out himself and basically accused the outlet of lying, saying that he had never spoken to Leeds United and there was no truth in the story at all. He's a cheap option. He will be under 10 million euro. He's got a year left on his contract. But there's no credible information on this story at all. I would say this is very much local news, trying to drum up some clicks as well as maybe an agent, but nothing more than that. The next one then to talk about and probably clear the deck of as well is Aaron Ramsdale. The Yorkshire Post claimed that Leeds, not the Yorkshire Evening Post, the Yorkshire Post, claim that Leeds could look at Aaron Ramsdale instead of Nick Pope as a goalkeeping option. Ramsdale's loan at Newcastle has expired. He's gone back to Southampton after failing to secure a permanent move to Newcastle after not being able to tie down the #1 spot last year. Leeds looked at him before. That's the connection. Leeds possibly look at a goalkeeper. The Yorkshire Post are taking this for Mick Brown. Not credible at all. So there you go on that one. I wouldn't say so at all. Next one. A bit more interesting. Sinayoko. Interesting one. This one comes from Media Foot. Again, source-wise, not great. But they've linked Leeds, Everton, Fulham and Crystal Palace for a move for Mali attacker Leeds Sinayoko. This one's interesting. His valuation is £12 million. He's been linked with Crystal Palace heavily because the new Crystal Palace manager made a move for him last summer. He's currently playing with Auxerre. He has 31 caps for Mali. He has 25 assists and 31 goals in 175 games for Auxerre. And it's an interesting one because he's 6'1" in height. He's right-footed. So you think 6'1", you think target man. Not really. That's not his strong attributes at all. In fact, some of his weakest attributes are his ability in the air. What he is good at, shooting from distance, ball carrying. He's fairly technical as well. Can be quite creative. He's kind of a 10, but not a 10. He's a 9 with 10 attributes, if that makes sense. Again, this is not coming from a very credible source. He is an interesting looking player, though. And could be kind of a hybrid that could do the 9 and the 10 or a 9.5 or one of those positions in behind the 2. Again, he's quite tall. The age is right. The height is probably right. The profile, maybe not exactly right. And again, the source on it, not particularly fantastic. So, yeah, I would take that one with a very healthy pinch of salt. And the other two, I would just roll up and bin them for now. We'll come back to them if they end up being anything more credible in the future. Folks, that will be it for me today. Massive thank you as always for supporting the channel. If you want to catch last night's podcast, you can. And also, we have a 15% off international shirts with OK Jersey if you use the code JER15 in your checkout basket. You can check that out if you want it. It's only on international shirts. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon. See you later. Bye.